Leadership with Andrew MacDonald, Jeremy Coronel, Annisa Rizal, Chris T, and Matthew Simprasuth. So what is leadership? Leadership is the ability of a person to influence others towards the accomplishment of common objectives without using formal authority. Formal authority can be seen as the ability to punish those who displease or reward those who do well. This is often used within leadership but is not central nor necessary. Instead of formal authority, leaders establish direction within a group by creating a vision of the future that the followers within that group will want to work towards. A majority of the time this vision is not shared from the start, and so a good leader will be able to convince their followers of the vision and to create this common goal. The key outcomes of leadership are success and stability through a positive environment and development of a business or organisation. So we have some applicable theories which we've discovered through research. The first one is transactional leadership. This is seen as keeping the ship afloat, as it does not look to changes in the future, but rather working on what is happening at the current time. Transactional leadership uses disciplinary power and an array of incentives to motivate employees to perform at their best. Transactional refers to the fact that the motivation comes from a transaction of reward for performance. This style of leadership is usually seen as at managerial level, as it relies on the disciplinary power that managers have. It is a responsive and reactive style, as it never looks forward but rather looks back at what has happened. A good example of transactional leaders are coaches of athletic teams. If you train or play well, you win the game. If you don't win the game, you don't play in the team. The next style is transformational. Transformational leadership style focuses on team building, motivation, and collaboration with employees at different levels of an organization to accomplish change for the better. This connects followers through a sense of identity to the project and the collective identity of the organization, and it aims to commit members to the vision through their own choice rather than forcing them to. It is very important in early stages of the business. You aim high and convince others to do the same, and you will most likely do well. Now we must compare transactional and transformational leadership, which are the most commonly compared and contrasted theories, generally because they are thought to be at opposite ends of the spectrum. However, the Jens-Roald study finds a distinct relationship and connection between the two. The best leaders our world have seen, such as Theodore Roosevelt, have been described as exhibiting both styles of leadership. The study also finds that the relationship between the two is positive for leaders found in the private and public sector today. For example, Steve Jobs was seen as a transformational leader, but if a follower wasn't working to achieve Steve's egoistical goals, that follower was removed immediately. Does this sound like a transformational leader to you? I think not.
The trait approach study focuses on the qualities of an individual who is born with or have developed leadership characteristics. The great man theory was studied by analyzing the behaviors of military figures through history, which relates to the traits of leaders, their abilities, and applications to lead a team or army. Researchers studied leadership traits to determine what made people become great leaders. Stockdale's theory presents a set of traits and skill interactively to the social environment of leaders as a result of their predefined set of traits. In turn, as we all heard, you are born a leader. Some people are just born with good leadership traits or discovered it through experience and how they were brought up. Leaders can take a personality test to see where his or her strengths lie. They can utilize the strengths and make up for the weaknesses, where their particular traits are effective or not, to fit into a certain leadership role. Behavioral approach studies focuses on specific behaviors of a leader. Here are some questions that researchers have asked themselves to find an effective theory for leadership. Task-oriented leader behaviors are people who have the role of giving instructions to employees to get things done, ensuring tasks and goals are met, behaving in ways that will increase the performance of an organization. People-oriented leader behaviors are people who have the concern of the well-being of employees, employee feelings, and treat them with respect, demonstrated by the leader's actions and expressions they give. The behavioral leadership continuum presents a range of actions used by an authoritative figure and the freedom of non-managers to make in making decisions. In turn, it suggests a degree of behaviors in leaders where it can be applied and its limitations in different positions.
What makes leadership effective in a group or organization? Is it about completing tasks or building relationships with your team? Have you considered that natural styles of leadership might be appropriate to certain situations and others? These questions have been asked by many scholars, and one approach to addressing these issues is through the theory of contingency. Contingency relates to the leader's effectiveness to lead upon different situational factors. There is no best style of leadership. The performance of their contingent leadership is tested from their ability to modify and adapt to their behavior with the consideration of two factors, the leadership style and situational favorableness. Fred Fielder's contingency model is one tool that can be used to measure the severity of your leadership effectiveness. During the first step, you should evaluate your leadership style by rating your least preferred coworker. Rate how you feel about your subordinate. If your score is high, you're most likely a relationship-oriented leader. If your score is low, then you're most likely a task-oriented leader. The second step is to determine the situational favorableness, which is dependent on three factors: leader-member relations, whether the subordinate is able to carry on with the task with his skills and knowledge, and whether the subordinate respects you as a figure of authority. By following these steps, it will allow the leader to successfully adapt to the situation and behavior suited to the subordinate. As seen with the other theories of leadership, all of them in the end are related and concerned with a particular person in a leadership role. However, in contrast, this theory takes a functional approach to leadership as it is concerned with the behaviors of a group. What can they accomplish and how? Functional leadership theory suggests that the leader should approach a to do or get done what is not being adequately handled for group needs. It recognizes that the leadership role is inclusive to anyone in the group in order to ultimately satisfy the needs of the team, enhancing team effectiveness and the output of the result. To accept a functional leadership perspective, one can understand and analyze which behaviors help lead the group towards its goal. John Adair's action-centered leadership model provides a blueprint for the leadership and management of any team, group, or organization. It centers around three concepts: whether the leader is able to identify the aims, intent, and direction of the task to satisfy the needs of the group whilst being able to successfully establish and set standards or maintain the overall performance of the plan. 2. Whether the leader is able to successfully communicate or adapt an appropriate behavior to progressively increase the productivity and efficiency of the team. 3. Whether the leader is able to understand the team members as individuals, such as their individual behavior, skills, strengths, and needs. In order to recognize the potential and achieve a good outcome, one must balance the needs of the three core concepts. If one concept is overlooked and ignored, the others are unlikely to succeed.
The integrated psychological theory of leadership is a recent development by James Scudder that is an attempt to integrate the strength of all the theories while addressing their limitations, introducing a new element: the need for leaders to develop their leadership presence, attitude towards others, and behavioral flexibility by practicing psychological mastery. This theory is based on James Scudder's 3 levels of leadership and the 4-square model, which is an extension of John Adler's action-centered leadership. The process involves setting a purpose and direction which inspires people to combine and work towards willingly, paying attention to the means, pace, quality of work towards the aim of upholding group unity, attaining individual effectiveness throughout, simultaneously in consideration with public leadership, private leadership, personal leadership. The leader-member exchange theory, also known as vertical dyad linkage, originally called by Dunsrow, Glenn, and Hagar, is a model that focuses on the interaction between leader and the subordinates. The leader would place the subordinates into 2 categories: in-group and out-group. It is determined by how they work, their personalities, role responsibilities, competencies, and accomplishments. An in-group can be described as when members go beyond the expected roles and have a constructive approach to the tasks received from the leader. Leaders identify them as subordinates that are proactively seeking to help the leadership role. An outgroup is where members who only try to work enough to fulfill their contractual obligations that do not receive any additional attention or benefits from their leader, as their interaction with their leader is formal and task-orientated.
This case study involves my personal employment at Nike. Leadership is formed and managed through a hierarchical system, typical to any organization and business. Under the store, manager, and leader, authority is branched down to team leaders respective to their department. Focusing on my department, which is footwear, the team leader, Mark, takes on a more transformational leadership role, possessing qualities such as intellectual stimulation, individual consideration, idealized influence, inspirational motivation, and charisma. Intellectual stimulation. Mark does not only envision the department's success, but also the company's success overall. This is executed through the democratic style of leadership, sharing decision-making abilities with members, ultimately promoting the interest of group members and practicing social equality. He encourages employees to share innovations and ideas benefiting both the company and the employees. Individual consideration. Mark shows concern for individual personal development in the workplace. As mentioned previously, he encourages innovative thinking, which creates a creative and flexible environment for all employees to work in because all ideas are considered. Idealized influence. Mark has gained the trust and respect from his employees through his vision for the company. He thrives on innovative thinking and efficiency. Mirroring the leader-member exchange theory, Mark exchanged his knowledge, advice, and support at my initial employment at Nike, thus gaining respect and commitment and good performance for the team. Inspirational motivation. The word team is located on the back of every employee's shirt. Mark does not only remind and encourage employees to overachieve, but go beyond and achieve as a team. Charisma. Charisma is a strong quality that a leader must possess. It commands strong loyalty and devotion from employees. Mark is very charismatic, very self-confident, and has strong visions. Mark is a visionary leader at Nike, always wanting to improve for the company and the employees as a team and as individuals.